Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the meeting of the Wingecarribee Local Planning Panel. Today, the 26th of February 2025. Just as a matter of, there's some formalities before the meeting starts. Firstly, I acknowledge Wingecarribee Shire Council acknowledges the Gundagura and Tharawal people as the traditional custodians of this land, and we respect the elders past, present and emerging. My name is Louise Byrne. I'm a lawyer and I'm one of the alternate chairs of this panel, appointed by the Minister to the panel. With me, I have two other panel members and one who's come in on Zoom to join us. Now, on my left is Linda Gosling, and she will just say a few words about herself.
Do that now?
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. Linda Gosling. I'm a registered architect for more than 30 years. My experience has been designing public buildings, then social housing, and now I do, in a small practice, quite a lot of heritage work, heritage design and heritage reports. I'm also on other panels. That's Inner West, they're in Blue Mountains, Inner West, and Georges River. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Now, on my right is Mr. Richard Colley. On my right is Mr. Richard Colley, who will now introduce himself.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm Richard Colley, community member, about 30 odd years experience in local government, including General Manager of Bankstown City Council, Administrator of Wollongong Council, Administrator of Canterbury Bankstown Council, Chair of the State Local Government Grants Commission, and I also sit on the State Government's Southern Regional Planning Panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And coming to us live from the Hunter Valley, we have Stephen Leithley. Would you like to introduce yourself, Stephen?
Yes, thank you for that introduction. Yeah, I'm a town planner with 30 odd years experience, and I also sit on various other local planning panels and chair local planning panels, and sit on as an alternate member on regional planning panels and strategic planning panels. And I've been on the Wingecarribee planning panel since 2021.
Well, thank you for that, Stephen. Now, just some further technical matters. The meeting's being live streamed to Council's website, and the recording will be made available on the website after the meeting. Now, it's a requirement of the legislation that each of the panel members signs a declaration of interest for each meeting, and I'll just ask each of the panel members to note their position. So, firstly, myself, Louise Byrne, I have no declaration. I've made a declaration, no declaration of interest. I've signed a document that I have no conflicts of interest to chair this meeting. Gosling?
Yes, I've similarly signed declaration of no conflict of interest.
I have also signed that.
As have I haven't got any conflict of interest either.
And I'm in the same position.
Thank you very much, panel members. Now, there are no apologies for today's meeting, and the procedure, some of you may well be aware of it and some may not. The council has further details of the way these panels are run on its website, and today, what we're going to do today is we have this open session. We've only got one DA item on the agenda. We have two other items for noting, and you all, I'm sure, have got access or had a look at the minutes that are available on the council's website, which will list the agenda items and have all the detailed documents that relate to each item. So I'm going to, and the last thing is there was no registered speakers for today's meeting, I was informed. I don't think that situation has changed. My apologies, my running sheet's been updated and we have 2 registered speakers. So what we'll do is we'll go first to the agenda item, and it's DA number 25/0414 for alterations and additions to a dwelling house for Sutter Road, Moss Vale. And the details of the DA and persons involved are in the minutes. Now, we had a question from one of our panel members that they wanted to put to the applicant. I believe the applicant and the owner of the property are in. The owner is not present. Yes. So.
Do you want me to ask that first? Not get them to talk. No. Yeah, I just have a simple question to do with the finishes and colours of the addition. I think the drawings state that you'll be matching, and I'm thinking it's particularly the roof I'm looking at. You'll be matching the existing roof, and it's just to clear something up, because in council's assessment they mention a colour which is surf mist, which is white, which is not the existing roof is like a mid-grey. So I just want to understand. I mean, if we just take it on the drawings, then it'll be a mid-grey. Is that correct? Am I correct in that? That's your intention? Yep. Okay, so we'll just take out that reference to surf mist. Okay, that's fine. That's all I want to know. Thanks.
Now, the panel has already considered and determined that it's going to approve this DA, subject to an amendment to one of the conditions. Now, did the applicants or the applicant's representative want to have something to say before we go on further? You may go ahead, yes.
Yeah, sorry, thanks, Madam Chair. My name is Chris Young. I'm from Principal Planner at CMY Planning Services, and I have with me today Alison Stevens of Coble Stevens Architects and Jennifer Gill. I can't remember the surname, sorry about that. Yes, so apologies there. So perhaps if we could...
Can I just interrupt you for a minute? You have 3 minutes to speak,
certainly.
each of you. Thank you.
Well, I have a formal, like something to read or something to present to, but I'm not sure whether you need that. But if you had a question around the consent conditions, perhaps we could have details of what that is, and then I can defer to my colleagues to respond properly.
Okay, well, I'm happy to proceed in that way. So the conditions were, there's one condition to be added, and it's numbered 8A, titled Compliance with BASIC's Certificate, and it reads as follows: prior to the issue of a construction certificate, amended plans are to be provided to the certifier demonstrating compliance with the commitments listed in the approved BASIC certificate, particularly in relation to the roof overhang. And the reason for that is statutory requirement. It arose out of picking up of an error in the conditions as they were drafted. Did you have anything?
I've just been advised that would be fine. We would have no objection to such condition.
Okay.
Would you like me to present? Do you need me to present? I can present if you wish, but it's seeming like the panel has made a consideration of the proposal as it stands, and there doesn't appear
Yes.
to be much more for me to add, but I'm more than happy to present if you'd like me to do that.
I'll just quickly confer with my panel members.
Sure.
And Stephen?
Well, I just would like to know whether they've got any submissions on the report or the conditions that they want to make before we formally determine the application. Is there anything that you want, any representations you want to make in relation to any of the conditions, I guess, in relation to the consent that was going to be issued? Is that what your presentation was going to be relating to?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Yes, it was the presentation that I had prepared was fairly general in nature, and it was just explaining who I am. I'm principal at CMY Planning Services with 34 years local government experience myself. The proposal fully complies with Council's development controls. We've read the Assessment Officer's report and fully support the report and its recommendation, and we commend that recommendation to the panel. And as I mentioned, it fully complies with all of the applicable development controls, particularly the Moss Vale development controls for residential development. There are some site constraints, namely the flooding aspect. However, that has been supported by a flood risk assessment report by SEEC Consultants, which concludes that the development has been designed appropriately in terms of this flood risk. And there are sewerage infrastructure, there is sewerage infrastructure on the site, and that has been considered by Council's water and sewer development engineers with appropriate conditions of consent, most notably to do with the concrete encasing of the existing sewer main, which is made reference on page 27 and 28 of the officer's report, and we would agree to such condition. Just to wrap up, I appreciate the opportunity to present to the panel today and the efforts that have been made by Council staff in assessing and reporting on our application, and available to answer any further questions.
No questions from me, Chair.
Thank you for that. There's no further questions from any of the panel members, so I'm now going to read out the decision. And the panel accepted the officer's recommendation. I'll just read that out. And the panel approves development application number 25/0414 for alterations and additions to a dwelling house at 4 Sutter Road, Moss Vale, subject to the conditions detailed in attachment 5 of the report and as amended by the addition of condition 8A that I read out to you earlier. I read out to the proceeding earlier. With that, that is the end of that item, and you're free to go. Oh, I'm being picked up by my fellow panel member. Voting on that is unanimous. Thank you. Now, there are two other items on the agenda for today which are really only for noting by the panel. They're not decisions to be made by the panel. And I'll just read out, you'll be aware from the minutes that have been available what the concern. So the first item is considering development applications greater than 180 days, which are to be reported to the panel. And the report author is the Manager of Development Assessment and Regulation, which I believe is present in the room. And just on that, I didn't get the three council officers who are here. I didn't introduce them. If they want to introduce themselves, please, that might be suitable for the record.
Thank you, Chair. Michael McCabe, Director, Communities and Place.
Thank you, Chair. I'm John Chilito, the Manager of Development Assessment and Regulation.
Thank you, Chair. Andre Vinay, Acting Coordinator Planning Assessment.
Thank you, gentlemen. And so this, the purpose of the report that I just mentioned by Mr Michael McCabe is to provide the Wingecarribee Planning Panel with detail regarding the current development applications that exceed 180 days. Now, I don't know if there's any discussion needed of this by the panel. A lot of the material that backs up this report is confidential and is not before this meeting. I'm happy to move on what the recommendation is, unless anyone from the panel wants to make a comment. No, so that. So I'll just make this recommendation now for the purpose of the record, and that the recommendation the panel accepts and notes that the development applications that are currently being assessed, which have exceeded 180 days since lodgement. So the panel notes the details of those DAs that's been provided to it and accepts the report of Mr McCabe. Is there anything further anyone here wants to say? Not the public, I'm sorry, I didn't mean you. The council officers or? No. Nothing further on that. Now the third item in this meeting today is all about it's a legal matters update. And again, it's prepared by Mr McCabe, who's the Manager of Development Assessment and Regulation. And just reading from the summary here, and the purpose of this report is to provide an update on the Class 1 appeals in the Land Environment Court against either the refusal of development applications by the local planning panel or the deemed refusal of development applications that would, but for the appeal, have been sent to the local planning panel for determination. So there is some background that's in the public document that's available to the public, but I'm not going to go through the detail of that. It's readily accessible when the agenda items are and the decisions are published. But so I'm going to move on to, now just check again in open session that other panel members don't wish to say anything about this part of the agenda.
No.
They nodded no, said no. And Stephen?
No, I got nothing to
Also
say.
nodding no. So, so I'll just read out the recommendation that we accept, and that is that the panel, the Wingecarribee Local Planning Panel, has noted this report of Mr McCabe and the memo that travels with it, provided under, as I said before, separate confidential cover, and it outlining the status of all appeals relating to the determination or decision of the panel, and deemed refusals that would, but for the appeal, have come before the panel for determination. So that, in effect, concludes our meeting today. As far as I can see, I'll just confirm that there's no other further business. No other further business. So the meeting will now be closed of this panel meeting on the 26th of February 20. And I'll record that it's closed at 2:20 p.m. on the 26th of February 2025. Thank you very much. You may now all go. Thank you.